Okay, you've said hypogonadism a couple times now.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
So nowadays, when if we just look at almost, maybe we go back and look at the kind of the clinical workup potentially of low testosterone, we'll call it, they will distinguish hypogonadism as primary or secondary.
Okay.
And so in looking at primary or secondary, that will help guide, treatment and, understand.
Definition wise, what is hypo means lower, right? And gonadism meaning function of the gonads.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And so to even back up a little further, all of this dysfunction starts potentially at the level of the brain. So the hypothalamus sends a signal to the anterior pituitary gland, which secretes gonadotropin releasing hormone, which then stimulates the production of LH and FSH, things that we've talked about more recently in terms of female hormones.
Right.
So it's this axes that are reflective of the kind of the neuroendocrine system that can at least, one, it helps us understand how our sex hormones are synthesized. And it also can help us understand at maybe which level of this axis is there a problem, which can help figure out why maybe somebody has low serum testosterone.
Okay.
And so,
but not everybody who has lower testosterone than they did when they were 25 is hypogonadal.
That's a good point.
Right. Okay.
Exactly. There's individual variation. There's going to be some natural decline over time.
Right.
And the other side of this is that there are the age-related decline that we see. Is it purely based on chronological age? That's the big question. And from my understanding of what we've read and what I've listened to, is that's not the case. It's more of a marker of more of a reflection of the chronic illnesses that we're facing as we age.
Interesting.
And so it's not that always testosterone decline is what's causing these cardiovascular issues, causing insulin resistance. It's often the opposite.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that the reverse can't be true. I mean, this is like Joey said, this is a humongous topic. We can't pick apart every study. But again, I think if I had to put my eggs in one basket, it is that serum testosterone changes over time are more of a reflection, again, of metabolic status. What sort of chronic diseases have you been exposed to as you age? And so it might flip that. It might flip the understanding of this whole issue, might flip that on its head for somebody who thinks, well, like you said, you get older, testosterone declines. That's maybe going to be the first, second, or third thing that I jump to when all of a sudden I'm having some non-specific symptoms as I age.
Got it.
So if anything, when we're looking at a clinical workup, the good practitioner, sure, based on your symptoms, they might get a morning serum testosterone. They might start looking at different hormones. They're also going to say, maybe we need to look at more subclinical cardiovascular disease, subclinical coronary, artery disease. Look at insulin sensitivity. Is this person pre-diabetic? To the point of erectile dysfunction, let's just say. Yeah. There's issues with the kind of the microvascular system there. And so something like that stands out to some as, oh, that's a black and white, that's a testosterone issue. It could be related to that, but that could also be related to, a very early issue with cardiovascular disease or diabetes. And I know I kind of went off the beaten path there, but again, that's just why this is so nuanced and you got to see this from all sides.
Okay. So primary versus secondary, you mentioned that a couple of times. What is the difference in those two?
So the easiest way to describe that would be looking at the physiology, I think.
Yep.
And so you have a battery of blood tests done. Let's just say we determined that testosterone is low.
Right.
If we have low or inappropriately normal LH and FSH, that would be considered secondary hypogonadism. And so it's secondary in the sense that there is, that it's not the testes, or it's not that the issues of hypogonadism is not coming from that, that part of the body, so to speak.
Okay. Because the testes are responsible for the primary production of it.
Mm-hmm. And that's why it's very important to, again, just try to tie in that feedback mechanism in that, okay, we know at the baseline level, testosterone is low. That is then signaling the brain to release more gonadotropin releasing hormone. And then you get to that next step and the body is not releasing FSH and LH.
Okay.
And so then that shows you, okay, not only is testosterone low in the blood, but we can also see that FSH and LH is low. And we know that there's some issue secondary causing testosterone ultimately to be low. And that,
because if FSH and LH are low, then the testes are never going to get the signal to release more.
Exactly.
Got it.
And so then this in and of itself will guide a whole other, sort of set of tests that potentially will be done. So they'll look at the pituitary gland. They'll look at pituitary hormones. They'll measure prolactin. They'll look for hyperprolactinemia. They'll also look at iron saturation and serum ferritin. Iron overload is a culprit of causing secondary hypogonadism. And so I don't think we need to go completely down the rabbit hole there, but I think that generally encompasses secondary.
Yeah. So what you're saying is there's a whole bunch of reasons why testosterone could be low, why you could be hypogonadal, that have nothing to do with your inability to produce more testosterone. You are able to, it's just not happening for a whole bunch of different reasons.
And in general, they call those sort of the more reversible functional causes.
Okay.
And so if somebody, if a male presents with infertility and it's determined that it's due to secondary hypogonadism, there's a better chance that they can, jumpstart the production of testosterone via the increase of this LH and FSH, which there are medications that can help drive that process.
Okay. All right. So if it's not secondary, if it is primary, what are we doing at this point? Is that when we finally start looking at supplementing with testosterone?
Yes. And theoretically, these could exist in some combination as well.
Oh, okay.
So it is,
of course.
It's tough, but from a very basic stepwise process, it just helps, to kind of determine next steps, but it's not always that clean. So primary hypogonadism looks again at LH and FSH concentrations. And if these are inappropriately high and testosterone is still low, then that there's something at the level of the testes that's,
So the signals are being sent, hey,
yes,
produce more, hey, produce more,
happening.
And it's not happening.
Right. And so there are some genetic components to that as well. There's additional karyotyping that can be done, but that one is a little more challenging from the standpoint of reversibility.
Okay. All right. So I guess that's the question. So how do we reverse this? What are if it's primary hypogonadism, am I saying that right?
Mm-hmm.
If that is the case, the LH and the FSH are inappropriately high. The testes are not producing enough testosterone. What are the paths to reversing it?
It's pretty simple. It's just the administration of supplemental testosterone. And there's a multitude of forms that can help restore that. And the goal is to get the testosterone back into a normal range.
Okay.
And it takes lots of monitoring and, there's even much more to determining who's the right candidate. They'll look at, prostate health, risk for prostate cancer. They'll look at your cardiovascular health. They'll look at things like hematocrit. There's still there's so much that goes into it, but wow. Pretending that all the boxes were checked and they were a good candidate, then for all intents and purposes, it's just a matter of, yes, it's what form of testosterone are you going to be using?